Hey friends, welcome back to another video. We're going to continue on our streak of World of Tanks videos and talk to you about probably the most fun tank I own that is a premium tier 8 tank. It's tricky because I have a few that I really enjoy, but there is something about this tank that just made me fall in love with it. So, we have a above average DPM for tier 8. Most things is pretty happy to have 2000 DPM, but because we are a tank destroyer, we get that little extra oomph. And we do, and what you would have seen in most of my tanks, when I play the mediums, when I play the light tanks, even when I play the heavies, I'm not hitting for too much damage, but this one hits for 440 on a neutral roll. And it's got pretty darn good penetration for its tier. I've seen tanks usually average about 220 penetration millimeters of armor, and this is above that, and that's with your normal rounds. If you were to pay a little extra, you could pen with some much better 307 that helps you deal with some really strong heavy tanks. And let's talk about this tank a little bit. It is massive. You can take a look at the profile of this tank. It's massive, and it's a tank destroyer. So its whole thing is it's a gun, and how you use that gun is very important because the tank itself doesn't move around quite so well. It's not designed to be as mobile, but because this is a turreted tank destroyer, it can fully rotate the turret. You have some advantages that other tank destroyers don't necessarily have. You can take certain positions and you can outmaneuver other tank destroyers. You won't be able to outmaneuver medium tanks or light tanks. Those are going to be faster than you. They're going to be able to go across the terrain a little bit better. Their terrain resistance is going to be higher. But you still have mobility, and that's pretty important. One thing I do want to talk about with this tank is it has armor. Pretty darn good armor. We were talking about how the turret has... look at this. It's got 300 on the outside because of the way the angle curves, and it goes down to 220. That's pretty hard to penetrate. Now, other T-103s, if you load the regular ammunition, they're probably going to pen that at 258, but most tanks we said are in the 200. So they're going to have a hard time shooting you right here. But unfortunately, they're not going to have a hard time shooting you just about anywhere else in the tank. You've got this spot here. There's always a chance they're going to pen. Nothing really struggles. Even light tanks will pen here. This is especially weak right here and right here. And you even have this weak spot right here. So it's very important to know that you have this armor and sometimes use it to your advantage. And we'll see that in the gameplay I want to highlight. But you need to understand that this is not something that you can just play and expect to bounce shots. It's going to be up to you and up to your opponent on whether or not shots are going to bounce. One last thing I do want to talk about, this is a Russian tank. But one cool thing about this tank is the gun does depress at 8 degrees. So you can take some ridge lines. And that's really helpful when you want to hide from your opponent, your tank. Imagine if there's like a cliff right here or something, or some sort of carapace or rock. You can just have the gun hang over, and then you only have this weak spot. You can wiggle it around, make it harder to hit. So those are some of the strategies I've found. Again, I really love this tank. It doesn't feel easy to play. I have to stress that. But there are some things about it that are pretty darn good and pretty darn fun. Before we load the gameplay, actually let me load the game client itself. Okay, sorry for that jump, everyone. I realized before I wanted to show you the game file and talk about the really fun, exciting game that I had in this tank, and I wanted to showcase today, I did also want to show you really quick what I run to make this tank as efficient as I see it, and it fits my play style. There you go, just threaten it. Okay, so we're back. Look at this. Okay, so here's the 103. I did manage to get a mark of excellence, and that's pretty important. It shows a certain level of mastery. You have to do really well against everybody else in order to see that mark of excellence. So I've fallen down a little bit, but in order to get that mark of excellence, in the last 14 days, I had to score higher in damage and damage assisted than 65% of the people who are using this tank. And my crew is pretty specced out because I really enjoy playing this tank. But I do think the most important two skills you can have are Sixth Sense and Signal Boosting. Most important. Brothers in Arms is great. But the reason why I say this is you have very little concealment, very little camo in this tank. So you want to hide as far back as you can, but still snipe. And in order to do that, you need Signal Boosting. And because you have low concealment, you need to know when your opponents see you. They're probably going to see you right away, but sometimes you could push your luck, and you really, really need to know if they're going to start shooting at you, because you're a big target. They're probably going to hurt you pretty bad, and you're going to need those hit points. So what I use is the turret is really big and heavy and slow, so I put this improved rotation mechanism on it, and I put it in the slot that actually boosts it. So I get the most effect out of this one, out of the 3 pieces of equipment I have on it. And I think this one is probably the most important because it helps me turn the turret along with turning the tank faster. And it helps me deal with light tanks. It helps me deal with all the mobile, speed tanks. Then we have the improved aiming class, and that just shrinks the reticle. Even when the important thing with this one is it shrinks the reticle by 5%. When it's bloomed out, when that gets really big on the screen, and when it's all the way shrunken down, when I'm not moving, it's that 5%. It's a static 5%. So I really like having this one on here. It helps me in both situations where I'm running and gunning and where I'm taking my time and sniping. And then the last thing is just the gun rammer. I want the DPM to be as high as possible, and I believe it raises it to 2,794. Yeah, so that in Brothers in Arms, it really helps reduce how long I'm reloading and helps me contribute to the games and help my team. So let's get to the footage. Here, let me go ahead and take control of the camera really quick because I'm going to do that normal swivel thing, and I'd like to make it a little easier on your eyes. So this is Lakeview, and this is probably my favorite map in the game. Really, really quick. I think you'll probably start learning by now, but heavies play where the artillery make it hard to hit them. So they play over here, they play over here. The here is because they can kind of brawl, and it's kind of a fish and barrel approach, so you don't want to commit too many. And here because you get the city buildings. And it has probably one of the coolest high risk, high reward sections right here, where you want like a light tank to go over here and spot all the way across the map, and then you can get all your snipers who are over here to shoot over here, or vice versa. If you're on this side of the map, you want your light tank over here, or maybe even here, and then they're spotting for everything by the lake, so that way your snipers are all doing it, and you're kind of protecting your heavy tanks because you want to out-vision your opponent. So that's pretty cool. Light tanks really like here or through this little area. Heavies and mediums can play all out through here, and then you'll see the SPGs usually fly over here or here. Sorry, they don't fly. They're usually pretty slow. And then you'll have the tank destroyers, and you'll see when I position this tank, I position it just a little differently. I personally don't like sitting towards the back like most tank destroyers do. I find it boring. I don't want to just sit back there. I mean, that's probably my light tank style coming through. I don't want to sit, I want to move, I want to brawl, I want to do all sorts of cool things and really use this gun, right? So let's see me try to use that gun. I'm going to go ahead and expand this so everyone can see. Alright, so we see this links here. We're going to take a running shot, and bam, we hit for 423. Awesome. Now, if you saw the reticle, this little red circle, which now turned green because I reloaded, it had bloomed out because I was driving. But because I had that 5% shrink, I thought maybe, I'll take a running shot. Maybe I'll hit, maybe I won't. You miss every shot you don't take. And I got that one. So I was rewarded with a shot there. And I also did a little bit of damage to that Chinese light tank, the WZ. And you're going to see me pace back and forth here because I'm just working with what my light tank spot. And I don't want to commit to a spot if I could shoot at a different side of the lake. So we go ahead and take out that LH. Somebody had probably damaged him a little bit earlier in that game. And all I needed to do was hit for my normal damage to kill that. So we have 1 kill now. This isn't going to be a high kill game. This is going to be me doing a lot of damage for the team. Now you see me try and snap a shot there. I missed, but that's okay. I could have hit and it would have been awesome, but at least I made the attempt. Now you're going to see me aim there a lot at the city. I want to punish any tank that decides that I'm going to poke out in front of those buildings, especially if I get the angle on it. But it probably isn't going to happen. I just don't want to let that opportunity go. So I'm aiming there all the time. I'm pacing like as close as you can pace in a tank. Just running back and forth in this figure 8. I just want to be flexible. I want to help my team. I want to use this gun because this gun is so much fun. The caliber of the gun barrel is 130 millimeters. So you're basically shooting small caravans at things. Yep, so that's how small it can be, and that's really important, I think, for this 103 because it has that high penetration. I like having that laser pointer accuracy so that way I can hit weak spots. And I like to brawl with heavies because of that turret. So hitting weak spots is very important to me. Now we take another snapshot, miss it again. What can you do? It's a bummer, but we're going to try again here. It doesn't look like they really want to move from that spot. Ooh, that one flew a little high. That's okay. That's okay. We've missed 3 shots, but you know we're doing good. We've done some decent damage. We blind fire. Oh, looks like we might have hit it. It's hard to tell. But we were able to finish it off with the team. That's good. Hey, there we go. I was talking about those strivs in chat. I was like, oh, that you guys spotted them. Keep them lit, and I'll shoot them. And we got one there. So we've already done over 1,000 damage. And there's another one. So these strivs are really interesting tanks. They're tank destroyers like us, but they're shaped way different. And they can't move their gun. Not like we can. They can't rotate it. They rotate the whole tank. And that comes with some advantages and disadvantages. When they turn, their gun bloom isn't as crazy. And that Striv S1 has the highest penetration in this tier out of all the tank destroyers, which is really interesting as well. It probably could pen the turret without having to try too hard as long as it hits towards the center, not towards the sides. But I really want to get this kill. Can I find it? Can I find it? I'm trying. No. All right, the team got it. That's okay. I'm a team player. We've done a lot of damage so far. Just trying to help. Every game I play, I want to win. So whatever I can do to help the team is what I want to do. Now I'm looking at the mini-map, right? And hopefully you are too. I try to bring it up at weird times to see if you're paying attention. And so I've been paying attention to city. No one's really driven out here. Everything's kind of stale. They're not really trading or anything. No one's gaining any ground, right? So we're going to go ahead as the tank destroyer. I notice that we lost some tanks that went this way. It's just a Centurion and a UDES, but I see that they have an American heavy tank, another American heavy tank, probably more tanks, and probably a sniper back here. So I want to go ahead and help the team. And that was while I was looking at the minimap. So hopefully I caught you. Maybe you weren't. Maybe you were. So you can see at the top, for a mission, I've done 1,600 damage so far. But I want to do more. I got a really big gun. This is all about the DPM, damage per minute. So let's see what we can do. So I see our Centurion. No one's rushing it, okay? Now, this is where it's really fun in the T-103 because you have that armor. You have just a little bit of armor, right? We don't want to rely on it. So I use this rock, and I'm dictating when we can fire. Now, we're using our high penetration to go through these heavies. They're expecting most of the guns to bounce off them, but because we have such great penetration, we're able to really bruise them. And you'll see what I did with this rock here. Every time my gun isn't ready to fire, I pull back. I'm conserving my hit points, and I'm telling the enemies, we fight on my terms, and we're only going to fight when my gun is loaded. It's reloaded. I bring it around, take a shot. We kill that heavy tank. Awesome stuff. We took a little damage. That's okay. They're getting a little angry and loading the expensive premium rounds at us, but, you know, that's all right. That means we're doing our job. And that one, unfortunately, hit their gun barrel, so it didn't actually damage it. The gun barrel actually absorbed it. Go for a shot. That was a little too to the side. It was curved on their armor. The slope was too much, so I wasn't able to pen that one. And the top speed on this tank is 44 kilometers an hour. We kind of get to it going down here, but you'll find that because you've got that armor at the top, it's a little slow, even with my off-road driving enabled on this or as a crew skill. It takes a little bit of time to get up hills. It's just something you have to be aware of. It's really great going down hills. You got all that extra weight to push you. So things are doing well on the other side of the city. You can see over here, not a lot's going on. They killed that one heavy tank, so I think they're doing really well. And that's why, as in this situation, I decided to push forward. I see they're doing well here. I see they're doing well here. Let's do our part and keep putting the pressure on. If we can get every side to collapse, this will be a clean sweep. Bam. And we were able to penetrate the turret on that tank. It was the side of the turret, but those turrets are known to be pretty strong. That's one of the nice things about those FV4202s. And this is where you can see the turreted tank destroyer glory of the 103 versus this ISU 152. We're both Russian tank destroyers, but we have two different, completely different ways of handling situations. They have a really big gun, but they can't move theirs on a turret like we can. Theirs is fixed to the body of the tank. So here I am dictating it. I see how they can't really do much with their gun. They're squat and low to the ground, and I can shoot over this rock. Alright, so I noticed they're not really pushing forward. They're probably going to have plenty of fun just sitting back there. So I decided to make my move. Oh, and there we go. We block a shot with the turret. That poor PZ-58 Mutts probably didn't realize how much armor is on this turret. So we're going to go up here. Nice, a tracking shot. So now they can't even turn their gun towards me, and I am able to kind of bounce back and forth. I'm aware of my weak spot on the top of the turret, and I didn't want that PZ Mutts hitting me. I missed the shot there. That's okay. We did exactly what we needed to do. We took out almost all the damage, and now it's just the last two tanks. Time to move up. There's the Progetto. I don't know where the PZ is. Where it's been shooting at me, so it must be over here somewhere, right? And with that 5% less on the bloom of the tank, we go ahead and nail the snapshot. Nice. 2 snapshots this game. We totaled, I went ahead and looked at the end plate of this game, and we totaled 4,444 damage. Really awesome. Only 3 kills, but we certainly helped keep the pressure going on this side of the map. All sides of the map did pretty well. Congrats to the rest of the team for playing really darn well. But I thought that this really showcased how much fun a T-103 can be, because you can be a little aggressive. Not a lot, a little aggressive. You can sit towards the back and snipe with it. It's a great gun. Totally, by all means, go for it if you can hit your shots. And then also you can brawl with it. And I think that's why I love this tank destroyer so much. I have a lot of fun with it. I can be really creative. There's certain positions I can just take that other tanks can't. But there's also positions I can't take. So as long as I'm aware of that, I can really milk this out and I got my first mark of excellence in this tank. Not my first overall as a player, but I got this one. And I'd like to try and get another mark and hopefully show you guys another game on me loving this tank. I hope the enthusiasm came through and bring you even more stellar gameplay, hopefully with more kills. Let's go for 8 next time. Let's get a crazy set of medals. But anyways, I really appreciate you letting me gush about this tank. I love the T-103, and I hope I helped you learn something new about maybe turreted tank destroyers, or maybe you want to buy the T-103 and see how much damage you can milk out of it. Every amount of damage you do is a little extra credits towards your account, so it might be worth it for the grind to get more stuff in this game. So thanks everyone, it was a great night, and I hope to see you in the next video.